Well, NFL fans, the next pillar of the offseason has come and gone. The combine is complete, and Croc got put on the spot to do the mock draft for today. We're going to see where he put who. Coming up next on Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, I'm always joined by my co-host, Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics. Today's episode is sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the games start. And speaking of games start, man, like the offseason, it's got to start. Like once you get to the combine and you wrap that up, you know the new league year is right around the corner. Games won't start for a while, but the offseason, I mean, this is the time where everyone is pretty optimistic. And these mocks, it means a lot to fans. And you get called stupid, dumb, all that stuff. But I'm excited about this one. I'm hoping that I touched on not just teams' needs, because that's one thing, but making their team better. Felt like I tried to do that. So, what we're going to do, we talked about, how we're going to do this format. I'm going to give the floor to you. I'll read off my first 5 picks, and then you come through, you tell me some of your favorites, and then maybe I'll discuss why I took a guy in a certain spot. So, starting off at number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I had them taking Aiden Hutchinson. At pick 2, Detroit Lions on the clock. I had them taking Kayvon Thibodeau. At pick 3, and this one might be a shocker to a lot of people, Houston Texans. I'm taking Sauce Gardner, a.k.a. Ahmad Gardner, out of Cincinnati. At pick 4, New York Jets taking Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher out of Florida State. At pick 5, New York Giants, they take Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So I already saw a certain, you kind of had a reaction to one of those picks. So I'm ready. Bring it on.
Now, I love me some Sauce, and it depends what you're putting it on. But if you're putting on a cover corner that's got the length that doesn't give up TDs, I kind of dig that. But yeah. Third to the Houston Texans? Talk to me.
Third overall. So I'm looking at the Houston Texans. I'm trying to figure out where can they improve the most. And the top 2 edge rushers were already taken off the clock. Now, I don't want to say this is an overreaction to his combine, which was terrific. I mean, it's a guy, he was smooth. He was getting in and out of breaks. Awesome. But another thing, he measured in at 6'3", around 200 pounds, so he has that length. And for somebody with that length, he moves extremely well. But he also went out and ran a 4.41. And the faster you run, it's just a better prospect that you are coming out, especially for someone like him who did not give up a touchdown entire career in college, albeit didn't play at a Power 5 conference or anything like that. But even when he did play against Alabama, he was terrific. But I look at the Houston Texans, kind of where they're at the cornerback position, and that might be one of their bigger needs. All right. And again, I try not to go too much off of need, but hey, let's give them a really good football player. But their cornerbacks as it stands right now, Desmond King, who might be a little bit more suited as a nickel guy. All right. And then also, Terrence Mitchell, who's a little longer in the tooth now. He's getting a little bit older, but Terrence Mitchell, he's a guy that's kind of been a journeyman at the cornerback position in the NFL. So why not give them a guy who's going to solidify them for years to come? And not just that. I know everybody looks at Sauce Gardner and they think, man, he's a terrific zone guy. And I know Lovie Smith, they want to run a lot of 2-high stuff, some cover 2. I think he's going to help take that defense to the next level. He has man ability as well as zone. I think this is a guy. I'm not big on taking corners this high. But if I am, it's going to be a guy with 6'3", 200, move well, runs a 4.41, and extremely versatile in his coverage ability. I think it's a big-time fit for the Houston Texans.
Now I'm waiting just a little bit because I didn't see his agility. I didn't think he leapt either. So I definitely need the full profile on him before I'd be comfortable going up here. But hey, he's going to have a pro day. We're going to get more information. I actually,
real quick,
I'm looking forward to talking about this.
That's another thing that works in his advantage, right? So say he's not the most agile guy, but he's going to more of a cover 2 type scheme where they're not going to ask him to have to shadow guys or be manned up all the time. So if there is a little bit of lack in agility drills. He's a little long from that standpoint. I don't think it'd affect him in the system that he would be going to in this mock here.
Yeah, I think he proofed him there too. I'll tell you this, we're going to have an interesting discussion. We'll have to talk with John Harris tomorrow, folks. Don't miss that show because I will not have Thibodeau in the top 5 anymore. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to hold this against him. I'm sorry. It bugged me. I'm glad that you put him there. We'll talk about that when you get to rip my mock apart next week. But Evan Neal falls to 5. I think that's still a good fit for the Giants. So where'd you go starting at 6?
All right, and real quick, just to get back to Thibodeau, the Lions, and we'll see what they continue to do, but they were more of a 3-4 team. And you look at some of the guys that they had there, they have Okora, who injured. He was very productive. He's young. He's been extremely productive, though, but he missed a lot of games. So we'll see what happens when he comes back. But it's really the other position. Trey Flowers, they gave him a ton of money as a free agent. He was not only injured, but just not productive from a sack standpoint. I think having a guy like Thibodeau who could potentially play in a 3-4 where they could drop in coverage and also get after the quarterback, I thought that was a big, really upgrade and really kind of solidify that edge rusher position, which I think is terrific. If they can get Okora back to being productive after the injury and you add a guy like Thibodeau, they'll be good there. We'll see what the money, because we know the politics of money with Trey Flowers, what that does to them. But at pick 6, I went Equinu to the Carolina Panthers out of North Carolina State, offensive tackle. The New York Giants go edge rusher David Ajabo out of Michigan. The Atlanta Falcons go offensive line Charles Cross. He tested extremely well. I like that there out of Mississippi State. Denver Broncos, Jordan Davis, interior defensive line out of Georgia. And at pick 10, Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa to the New York Jets.
So let me back you up a second. So you're saying 4 of the top 5 picks are defense and 4 of the top 10 are offensive tackles?
Yeah,
that's a lot of tackles coming off the board.
I think it's a deep class, and they're really good. I didn't feel like it was like forcing anything. Maybe Trevor Penning, because I know, we saw a little ups and downs, but obviously you see the highlights of the Senior Bowl, but I just thought he dominated his opponents. I love his mean streak, his nastiness that he's shown at every level. And when I watched him against Iowa State, where that was some of the better competition he's played against, I thought it was tremendous. And not just the run game, but pass game. I mean, he was physical, aggressive, throwing guys to the ground. I think, and you look at the New York Giants, one, they got to protect New York Jets. They got to protect their young quarterback. I know this is not going to be the sexy thing, especially going Jermaine Johnson edge at 4 and then at 10 going offensive tackle. The fans probably aren't going to like that. They want cornerback. They want receiver, and I get it. But I tell you what, this is a deep class, and I think they'll be able to attack the receiver position at the top of the second round from that standpoint, or even attack a cornerback moving forward. But to be able to protect your young quarterback, and maybe they're like, hey, Croc, we just watched Joe Burrow go to the Super Bowl, and not have an offensive line. So how important is that? But I don't think it's as ideal. So let's get, that time clock kind of slow down a little bit for Zach Wilson, get him some protection there. So that's why I went with Trevor Penning. But yeah, a big run on offensive tackles in the really in the top 10.
Yeah, wow, that's huge. So clearly you think the Broncos are going to get a quarterback in free agency, so that allows them to take the monstrous and even more athletic than I thought, Jordan Davis. That's an interesting pick over Devontae Wyatt, his teammate that I still have a little bit better pass rush grade on, but that rounds out the top 10. Man, I can't wait to see what you did next.
Yeah, and real quick on just on taking Jordan Davis at 9 to the Broncos, and you look at what they have right now in the interior. They ran 3-4. We'll see if they stick with that. I know they got a whole new coaching staff coming in, but even then, if they go 4-3 or 3-4, and you want to stick them in the middle, nose tackle, or just defensive tackle in the 4-3, I mean, right now he's scheduled to replace Purcell. And I think, Purcell, he could be a solid football player. I remember him starting off with the 49ers, but I think this is a big jump in just tiers of ability. The freak athlete that he showed to be. He ran a 4.78, and we've seen him, that burst, that closing speed, chasing down running backs. He can improve his conditioning. I think that'll help the pass rush aspect of it, but the freak athlete that he is, that's something that you could build on. All right, we're going to get into the next. We have the Washington Commanders on the clock, the Minnesota Vikings, Cleveland Browns. What do we do there? That's going to be interesting. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Built Bar. All right. And this is the time of the year where pretty much everyone is kind of giving up on their New Year's resolutions. But Built Bar, I mean, come on, guys. We are in March now. How are you going to keep, staying on track with your New Year's resolutions? It's with the Built Bars and the Puffs. All right. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you are missing out. They are the best tasting Built Bar that's out there. All right. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They are fluffy. They are marshmallow. They are not just a protein bar. They are a treat. And they are covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. Yummy cinnamon, churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. Man, those flavors are so good. I'm telling you, they're going to be your new favorite thing to eat. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, this includes the Puffs. 100% real chocolate. And great thing about all these things, man, they are low in calorie, high in protein, and they replace your candy bar with these. That's what you're going to want to do. All right, they are better than the candy bar. And a typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to built.com and scroll down to the macros chart, and you'll be blown away by the high protein, low calorie, high in fiber, and low in carb that these Built Bars have. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs. And best part about it, 17 grams of protein. All right, compare that to any candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Man, that stuff's not good for you. Throw that out, replace it with a Built Bar. All right, Built Bar has all type of really good flavors: mint brownie, coconut almond, and they always have new flavors, including white chocolate, cookies, and cream. They are delicious, and the new flavors are coming in all the time. In fact, if you think of a flavor that you think, hey, Built Bar, I think I'm going to like this, they might make it. And if they do, it'll be delicious. At Built Bar, their thing is, man, they want to make it taste good. Can they get it taste good? That's what they're going to do first. Make it be delicious, and then they'll figure out how to make it healthy. All right, and I don't know how they do it, but I'm telling you, they don't miss. They get it right every time. Go to built.com right now, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off of your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, here we go. We got the Washington Commanders on the clock, and I'll kind of go through my next 5. We got the Washington Commanders, Garrett Wilson, receiver out of Ohio State, first receiver taken off the board. Minnesota, wow, they get Derek Stingley at pick 12, cornerback out of LSU. Cleveland Browns, they take Chris Olave, the other Ohio State receiver. He goes to the Browns, adds some dynamic, explosive ability to that offense. Baltimore Ravens, this might be a little higher than most people have this guy going, but they get George Karlaftis to fit in that 3-4 defense as an end there. And the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 15, Trayvon Walker, who really kind of another one of those guys from Georgia who blew away the combine.
I like what you did. The moving to the 5 technique for George Karlaftis makes a lot of sense for me, because I think while he was smooth at his combine workout, he did show that he's not the explosive obstacle that can get out of the way like a lot of the guys that you have up here in the top 10. I actually have him still lower too, so I'm interested in that. It looks like I like what you did with Trayvon Walker, but the 2 Ohio State wide receivers coming off the board nearly together, I like that. And did the 40 not change your mind on Chris Olave? I thought maybe you might have flipped those.
Well, I mean, they both so their official times, because they went back. Olave's official time was a 4.39, I believe. Well, Garrett Wilson was 4.38. So Garrett Wilson actually was a shade faster, but no, I mean, that wouldn't have had changed it either way. I thought both of these guys showed explosive ability. I thought they were, they have their differences. Olave a little bit smoother, more explosive. I looked at what Washington Commanders have with Terry McLaurin. I feel like he's that type of receiver. Wanted to give them something, Washington Commanders, a little something different, a little bit more dynamic, run after catch type of ability to complement what they have with Terry McLaurin. And then for Cleveland Browns, it was just, hey, like, you got to get better. What's going to happen with Jarvis Landry? But aside of him, you got Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like him, but they still need to continue to get improve, get more explosive. And I thought keeping Chris Olave in the state of Ohio, that would be a nice treat for the Cleveland Brown fans and for Baker Mayfield, the quarterback. Give him more weapons, explosive guys.
Absolutely.
All right, so now pick 16 through 20, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. Los Angeles Chargers take Jameson Williams out of Alabama. New Orleans Saints, Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh. At 19, we got Philadelphia Eagles back on the clock. Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. And at pick 20, Pittsburgh Steelers, they take Malik Willis.
I really think that the Eagles fans are going to be screaming your name to be the next GM because Trayvon Walker, who showed out better than he was actually allowed to play in his role at Georgia, I think it showed you that he could play the edge. He's got to work on some hand fighting issues, develop a few more moves. But I think that's really great. Trent McDuffie, I think, is going to come up some boards here off of this combine. I already had him in the 20s, but I like what you did here. And then putting Kyle Hamilton, who I still have as one of the top 5 players in this draft, making it all the way to 19. They'd be crazy not to grab him there. Philadelphia's got to be screaming happy with you.
Yeah, and the Kyle Hamilton, it kind of reminded me of the year that Derwin James and Minkah Fitzpatrick are coming out, where Minkah was a guy who I felt like was a top 5 talent in that class. He was my favorite defensive player in that entire draft. Derwin James, not far behind him. And to see those guys not only slide out of the top 10, but Derwin James fall to pick 17 or pick 18 around there and go to the Chargers. This reminded me of that. I mean, obviously we know the freakish ability that Hamilton has, his ability to really cover a lot of space, be terrific in not just, pass coverage and be a playmaker from that standpoint, also come down in the run game, make plays from there, really show terrific range in both aspects. I thought that was something that was terrific. And when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and kind of what they have on the back end, I thought this was an opportunity for them to really get better at a safety position.
I like what you did with the quarterbacks as well. A lot of people have them kind of flipped with Willis going to New Orleans and Pickett staying at home in Pittsburgh. But I think that makes sense. And I like the fit for both of them, knowing that they're both kind of starting in a chance to restart and reboot their offenses with these new players. And I think Pittsburgh, a roaming quarterback that can get out of the pocket, might be a breath of fresh air for those Steelers fans.
Yeah, with New Orleans Saints, and we'll see what our guy Ross Jackson has to think about this, what he thinks about this. But, the hand issues and things like that, let's erase that. Let's erase those and limit that opportunity of him throwing in bad weather. Let's put you in the dome. So half of your games, even more than half now, they play 17-game seasons. The NFC is playing 9 games at home this year. So you have 9 games indoors. And outside of that, you play in the NFC South where you play against the Carolina Panthers, weather typically not terrible there. You play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, weather typically not terrible there. You might have a little bit of rain, but not anything too crazy, too cold. And obviously he wears those gloves to kind of help him. So I thought that he was just better suited to really excel in New Orleans and kind of play in more of that offense with some of the weapons that they have right now. So that's what we did there. But the New England Patriots, the Raiders, and a few other teams that are on the clock. Did we help them? I think so. All right. But
you did.
First, here we go. We got a football season. It might be over. I mean, I know the combine just happened. The actual football season about to start. But basketball is in full steam ahead for both college and pro hoops. All right. From all the latest odds, total player performance props, and where to find the Knicks fire head coach. Where is he going to land? BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. Our BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. I mean, you could have bet and placed some wagers or over-unders on the combine that just passed. All right. BetOnline is the number one source for all your hockey, boxing, UFC. They had some big-time matchups over this past weekend, and odds right to your Olympic coverage and information. Head over right now to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. Again, that's betonline.net. And it's BetOnline, where the games start. Here we go. We got the next 5 teams here. New England Patriots are on the clock at pick 21. They take Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. The Las Vegas Raiders take Zion Johnson out of Boston College to start to kind of retool that offensive line. They got Colt Miller, and that's about it. All right. Arizona Cardinals take Andrew Booth, cornerback out of Clemson. Dallas Cowboys, they take Lewis Seen out of Georgia, who had a terrific combine. All right. And at pick 25, Buffalo Bills take Kyler Elam, cornerback out of Florida.
I think Many teams are going to be happy here. Zion Johnson just fits. You helped Mac Jones with the Jahan Dotson, one of my favorite receivers in this draft that I think it can really help his quarterback be in position to get a lot of different things done. My question to you is, where you put Booth and Elam, do you think you could have switched those, or what was the fit that made you put them there?
Well, I mean, just what they I have Andrew Booth a little bit higher right now in my rankings, but
Mhm.
Kyrie Elam, he's definitely kind of creeping up there. If they go with the Elam, wouldn't be surprised at all by that. I actually think Booth, when I kind of think of the defenses and what they've done, he might actually fit a little bit better with Buffalo from an off cover scheme. They play a lot of quarters, and Booth has the ability to do a lot of that type of stuff, that off coverage zone stuff at Clemson, but still has the ability to play man. The Cardinals, they're kind of lacking right now a little bit at cornerback. They're trying to piece things together. They played a lot with Marco Wilson, rookie out of Florida. He was a mid-round draft pick, I believe, 4th round. So we'll see if he can hold off at the corner spot. But I think the other corner spot is another area where they can definitely kind of improve and get better at. Buffalo Bills, they've kind of pieced things together a little bit with Levi Wallace out of Alabama. They kind of re-signed him to 1 year, but I don't think they want to have Levi Wallace out there. And obviously, you have Tre'Davious White coming off of an injury there. So I think Kyrie Elam gives them that long-term solution at the cornerback position, and they can't let him go. You know, we kind of look at what they've been at the cornerback position. They struck gold with Tre'Davious White. Back in the day, they had a guy named Stephon Gilmore. He was pretty good as well for them. But I think getting Kyrie Elam right here, I think that's good. And now the Cowboys getting Lewis Seen. And, this is a guy who maybe was projected to go 2nd round, but when you blow away the combine the way you did and you run as fast as he did and you show the ability, and it's on film, his film is terrific. And I think the buzz is only going to continue to pick up. Dallas Cowboys are in dire need of a safety here. So for me, it was either go safety or go offensive line. I ended up going with the playmaking safety.
And I like what you did there because I thought he actually showed a lot of resolve. He was one of the guys that I think underestimated Jameson Williams in that SEC championship game. He came back against them again in the championship game and made sure that they weren't going to get somebody behind him. I thought he actually made a step up from those, 3 weeks in between. That was nice to see for a guy that had been solid all season to really step his game up there at the championship. So I like what you did there. Now, Tennessee through the bottom of the draft, what do we got left?
Tennessee Titans. This one, again, we've had this conversation before, but Christian Watson out of North Dakota State, and I think he kind of just continues to kind of solidify himself as really kind of that guy that's climbing up the charts and maybe force his way into the 1st round. Tampa Bay Buccaneers go with quarterback Desmond Ridder, 4.4, 940. Desmond Ridder, I think official 4.52. But Green Bay Packers get another receiver to go with Devontae Adams. That's Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. You got the Miami Dolphins on the clock at pick 29. They take Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M. They do it all offensive lineman. They want to play him inside. They want to play him outside. He could play all over. I watched 3 films and saw him playing at 3 different positions. Left tackle, right guard, right tackle. I think he profiles more as a guard, but he's definitely a guy that can slide outside in a pinch. The Kansas City Chiefs. I know I might have a little bit of pushback on this from you. Got them taking the Kobe Dean linebacker out of Georgia at pick 31. Cincinnati Bengals take Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. And I don't want to force the whole they need to protect Joe Burrow narrative. All right. But when I looked at who was on the board at that time, and yeah, they do have to protect them. When I looked at who was on the board at that point and kind of who they have, Trey Hopkins at center right now. I think Tyler Linderbaum, terrific offensive lineman out of Iowa. I really like that. And then Detroit Lions at pick 32, they take Matt Corral, quarterback out of Ole Miss.
Man, a lot stands out here. I like Christian Watson, solidified himself as the physical threat for me. He's still a 2nd rounder on my board. That's fine. If he creeps in there, good for him. Like you said, he's shown the upside. I'm just glad to see you come around on Ridder because I thought no way in the world I'd see a mock where you put Ridder in the 1st round and above Corral. Good for you because I think Ridder has stabilized himself here through the Senior Bowl and now through the Combine as well. I do think there's upside in Matt Corral. I still have him higher on my board, but I think there's an option for Ridder to make it in the 1st round like you have here. Great selection. And for the Chiefs fans listening, listen, everyone would love Nakobe Dean. They've spent 2 2nd-round picks in consecutive years on linebackers, though, and they got bigger fish to fry. So I think it's a good fit. You could certainly work him in there. I'd like to see him at will. And man, as a nickel, I think that could be really interesting. But do you think that pick for Corral at 32 is actually the Lions, or they trade out of that?
If I'm them, and again, you got a guy like Jared Goff. He's not your long-term answer. So at pick 32, where you have the ability to have a fifth-year option on the quarterback, and we know how much money those guys make, I think you stay pat right there. You take a Matt Corral. He has the upside. He has the ability. You don't have the pressure of having to play him right now, especially when you're picked at 32. You can let him learn and kind of sit behind Jared Goff and kind of develop as the team continues to kind of get better around him. And if it doesn't work out and you see right away, man, this might not work, or you give it a year or two and you kind of want to cut bait, nobody's going to mind cutting bait with a quarterback that you draft at the tail end of the first round. Matter of fact, at the very end of the first round, as opposed to if there's a guy in the top 10, that's going to hurt you and set you back a little more. So I would stay pat here if I am the Detroit Lions. Take this quarterback, Matt Corral, have that fifth-year option on him. All right. You did talk a little bit about Kansas City, and you touched on maybe, hey, they drafted some linebackers in day 2 last couple of years. What direction would you go for Kansas City right there at pick 30?
The problem for me is you took
quick.
a lot.
I almost went, and I didn't want to overreact. Cornerback at a UTSA, Tariq Woolen, a guy who went out there and ran in the 4.2s. He's 6'4". He's 205 pounds. The fastest between him and the corner out of Baylor, Barnes, they're the fastest corners ever at the combine. So in recent years, they blew it away. He showed tremendous upside, 42-inch vert, but he's a little raw at corner. So obviously off of testing, you see that type of upside, and you may want to take that at the tail end of the first round. But I shied away from it. I didn't want to overreact to combine numbers, and I wanted to give you guys the Kansas City Chiefs, a player that can impact a little bit more. But what would you do with the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 30 right there?
I agree on your Woolen not overreacting, because he's still a 3rd or 4th round player on film. So yeah. I'm with you there. The other thing that you want to look at is edge. Could you gone Cam Thomas? Possibly. Is there anybody else out there? They are definitely going to be in the corner market. And as of today, at the end of the combine, they're also going to be in the safety market too. Could Petrie have slid in there? There could have been a couple of little things there, but I like what you did. My big question to you is the fit for Burks at Packers. I think could be really interesting, especially, well, we'll never know if Aaron's going to be there until Aaron's there, but whoever's throwing the ball for the Packers, that gives them a nice versatile target that you can do a lot of things with, right?
Right. And you want that versatility, you want that ability. Their offensive coordinator that they have, LaFleur, obviously coming from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, and we see the versatility in Kyle Shanahan using his players. Deebo Samuel's almost positionless, and I don't want to say Trayvon Burks is the next Deebo Samuel. Didn't test as well as Deebo did at the combine, or as well as I thought he would. But I think on film, he plays faster than what he tested. Still a little raw and not as nuanced as a route runner. In the area, he definitely can improve. But I think a lot of that had to do with the Arkansas Razorbacks not really asking him to do a whole lot of that. So he's still a little new in that aspect, but he's a tremendous playmaker. When you go there, as long as it's Aaron Rodgers, he's going to throw the ball to the only place where your receivers can come down with it. And Treylon Burks, he's shown the ability to win that 50-50 catch point, also be able to outrun defenders vertically down the field. I think this is a big body guy that can be used in multiple ways that not just Aaron Rodgers is going to like, but LaFleur as well.
Yeah, I don't blame him a bit. Well, I like that. And this exercise is kind of fun where you get to explain to me everything you did, and then we'll turn around and I get to do it next week. So, folks, if you like it, send your thoughts to Croc. If you hate it, let me know so I can correct it for next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. All these measurements are coming out, and I'm going to have it all in the Athletic Matrix from Rogue Analytics. So if you want to check that out, that's over at rogueapc.com too. This was a fun weekend. Like, overall, how did you feel about the Combine?
It was cool. It just showed me, and I mean, the guy, you talked about edge rushers potentially at the end of the first round with Kansas City Chiefs. Boye Mafe blew it away. We talked a lot about him, had a tremendous combine, ran a 4.53 officially at 6'4", 262 pounds or whatever he is. I mean, tremendous. A guy still kind of growing into his body and improving consistently. That's a guy. I mean, there were so many guys that just jumped out, and I'm like, wow, they just added a ton of depth at this position. Offensive tackle, offensive line in general, defensive line, secondary, some guys that really, showed, hey, I can test extremely well. put me up here. I'm still learning. I'm still improving at this position. I think there are a lot of those type of guys. Look at guys like Tariq Woolen, and guys like Roger McCreary, who maybe didn't test as well as I would have liked for a guy that has sub 30-inch arms, right? And I mean, really short arms. Then he didn't run extremely well. I think his official time was 4.55, where he's already not the biggest guy, 5'11", 186 pounds, so he's kind of slight. So I think he didn't do himself any justice, but I think he's a tremendous guy on film. So we'll see where he goes. So there's still some questions that need to be answered coming out of the combine, but I thought overall it was good, really good for a lot of guys.
Real quick on McCreary, I agree with you. He didn't help his case, but I will say this: I think he stabilized. What you see on film is that he's not a sudden athlete, but he's still just as smooth. He's still just as polished, and I think that showed in the workout as well too. So yeah, I think he's. I had him in the second round before. I think he's still in the second round, but I don't think that that's bad. I think he's going to help somebody.
Yeah, and he just might end up profiling more as a nickel, which was kind of what they were doing with him at the Senior Bowl. We'll see if that kind of carries over. All right, but that's going to do it for this episode. We hope y'all liked it right here. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. If you did hate it, go ahead at me on Twitter at Eric_Crocker or direct your hate towards Ryan Tracy at Ryan Tracy NFL. When we come back tomorrow, we'll be with our guy, John Harris, and we'll get all his thoughts on the combine, who stood out, who didn't do as well. We're going to get a little bit more in depth and deeper in this combine and this class. But that's going to do it, y'all. We are out. Peace.